welcome to Wild, Wacky, Wonderful Humans. This is the podcast that celebrates the quirks, the courage, and the brilliance of being human. I'm your host, Jeanene Tracy, transformational coach and curious explorer. Let's dive in and uncover the magic of being wonderfully human. Welcome back. Today's episode is a soulful reunion. It's a conversation filled with wisdom and love and the kind of grounded spirituality that feels like a warm embrace. I'm joined by Reverend Leon Campbell Jr. He's someone I first met 6 years ago in Croatia, and he continues to live, lead and teach with an open heart and deep integrity. Before we hit record, we meditated together, which was really cool. We said a prayer of gratitude and we carried that energy right through into this conversation. We talk about what it really means to see the divine in everything, how to reconnect with your inner voice, and why circular living might just be the antidote to our linear, pressured world. Leon shares the origin of his spiritual journey, his work with children, his insights from his really cool book, Simple Mysticism, seeing the divine everywhere and in everything. Even the title sounds incredible, doesn't it? We touch on the rise of AI and its impact on identity, the sacredness of simplicity. Ooh, I love it. And what it means to truly behold your own magnificence. So get ready. This conversation might just change the way you see yourself, your purpose, and this beautifully wild human journey we're all on. Today's guest he's one of these humans who makes you feel seen, inspired, deeply grounded. Reverend Leon Campbell Jr. is here with me today. He's a minister, an artist, a teacher, a poet, a youth advocate whose work at Agape International Spiritual Center has shaped thousands of lives. He's a musician, he's a storyteller, he's someone who leads with love. This is what we need more of right now. He listens with his whole heart. I've been so blessed to be around Reverend Leon Campbell where he has shared his whole heart. He is a director of the Youth and Family Ministry at Agape, and he's been doing that since 2004. He's founded powerful initiatives like eCamp, Artist in Residence Program, the Young Men's Mentoring Program. He served as a youth director at Mind Valley University. He's released his autobiographical music project, Dearly Beloved Songs, Sonnets, and Stories. Ooh, I love it. He's authored the book, Simple Mysticism, this one that I've got right here with me. What an incredible companion this is. We'll dive into that shortly. So it's called Simple Mysticism, Seeing the Divine Everywhere and in Everything. And he was honored with a doctorate from Agape University for his years of service and spiritual leadership. Wow. Welcome, Reverend Leon Campbell Jr.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. Jeanene, if you don't mind, can I begin just by reading a short poem that I have?
Please do. I would
And
love that.
I love the title of your program, Wacky Humans. And one of the things that I think is so wacky about us is that awe, we can step into the awe, the amazing, the fantastic, the beautiful. Each and every day, we don't have to wait till something happens that knocks us off our feet or overwhelms us or et cetera, et cetera. There's the beautiful all around us. And when I read the scriptures, one thing that I'm keenly aware of at the time, because there was a shortage of words, there were only, like, for instance, in the Aramaic language, there was only 650 words. And a key word that was missing in their dialogue was awe. And so they use the word fear because they had no other word to describe what they were witnessing. But when we look at our world, when I look at what you're doing, and we would be in total awe. And so I just wanted to read this real quickly, and it's called Behold.
Mm.
Out of the distance, light beckons me, so I run to greet it. As I behold the light, what I hear is beyond belief, far deeper than speech. What I hear is beyond the ears. What I see brings me to my knees and tears. What I see is hard to describe. You would have to be here to see with your own eyes. What I see takes me to a place where there is no space or time. For what I see is clearly out of my mind. I stand back to take it all in. At this moment, all senses have ceased and end. I feel a heavy silence that shakes my being. It gives me a dose of adrenaline that is inspiring and freeing. What I saw and heard today was inconceivable, but what I feel was unbelievable. And I love it when many times inspirational speakers ask us to embrace and hug ourselves. Because when we think about wacky humans, we're awesome. We are awesome. And when was the last time we beheld the beauty that we are, the magnificent, the wackiness that we are? When is the last time you just you lost your breath? You said, ah, by looking at yourself, Jeanene. Ah, how magnificent you are. How infinite.
We don't do that enough, do we?
We
No.
don't. And so you giving me this opportunity now to again behold this wacky person that I am. And it's okay.
Mm.
We don't have to struggle to be perfect. We don't have to, where there's nothing missing. There's nothing wrong with me. There's nothing wrong with you. But just to sit there and just say, ah, how
Oh,
beautiful you
that's
are.
so beautiful. And it's so interesting because we put so much pressure on ourselves to be something else, don't we? We put pressure on
Yes,
ourselves to be like others, when in fact our awe is, so captivating when we
yes,
really
sir.
sit in our own awe. And yet
Yes,
sometimes we're fighting that awe and we're trying to replicate others' awe because we feel like they shine brighter or they seem like they have it more together or they have more
yeah,
purpose.
yeah,
But
yeah.
really,
And it's a total misnomer. You
totally.
are perfect as you.
Yep. Exactly. How did you get to this, Leon? Because for so many people, there's a lot of turmoil going on at the moment in the world as well. There's a lot of, AIs coming in to play, and it's kind of starting to impact the way that we human. And I think it's going to be in a positive way, to be honest. I think there's going to be a
Yes,
period of
I agree.
transition.
I agree.
Yeah.
Because
So,
it's only duplicating us, Jenny. It's only
yeah.
duplicating us.
Yeah, but it can do the digital stuff. It can do the admin stuff. It can do all the
Yes,
mundane stuff, and we'll do the humaning stuff, right?
yes, yes,
But there is a
yes.
transition period, and I think in that transition period there'll be a lot of people blindsided. There'll be a lot of people who lose their jobs, lose their purpose. They'll really not know who they are as a person because so many of us identify ourselves with our jobs or with our careers. And when that changes or disappears for us, who then are we? And my question in our conversation around this is how how do you help people through this transition? How can we as humans be okay with this? All of the words that you just said, incredibly inspiring. But if I'm someone who's sitting in, I don't know who I am, I don't know what I'm doing, I don't know, I'm not awesome, because there's a lot of people who truly think that. I'm terrible, I've got nothing to offer the world. How do I bridge that gap? How do I become the person who's okay with me when I look in the mirror?
Yes. Before I answer that, I just wanted to say to you is that many times we're looking in the wrong direction. We're still trying to teach and inundate our children with industrial information.
Oh,
We've
yeah.
clearly outgrown it.
Yep.
No one needs to be lamenting the loss of the typewriter.
No,
No one.
no.
Oh, no one needs to be lamenting the the diminishment of coal as energy.
No. There's new
Outgrown
ways, right?
thing. And
That
people say, well, we're losing jobs. Well, most of those jobs we've outgrown.
exactly.
And you're looking at a
Exactly.
generation of children who are so technically adept.
Yep.
And we're trying to cram industrial information into their brains. They're looking at us like, no.
They know better.
No.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I like that when you use jobs. I had to remind people, just like this woman said to me, oh, the rug, she lost her job recently. She said, the rug has been snatched from underneath me. And I said, oh, you've outgrown that rug. That's a little cheapy, inexpensive rug.
I love that. I love it.
You,
Let's go rug
you
shopping.
need a more classier rug.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, I want one of
And
those
she
ones that
started laughing.
flies,
Yes.
Aladdin's rug.
Yes, yes. And she started laughing and she says, you're right, Reverend Leon. I'm lamenting over an old rug that no longer serves me.
Hmm. The
And
reality
so,
is there will be a lot of that happening because a lot of people don't know how to search for the new rug or,
yes,
that they even need a new rug because they're
yes.
lamenting over the loss rather than focusing on what can I do now? Who can I be now?
Well, and to answer your question in terms of how did I arrive at a lot of these conclusions? Well, I'm a person, and you're going to hear in this talk, throughout the talk, is that I just, I desire, I, I, I just want to be in the unprecedented. My desire is to every day venture into something that's never happened before.
Ooh.
I'm no longer afraid because I've got my bruises, but that's what
Yep.
I earned. But I long for uncharted territory, and when I do it, I tap into deeper levels of who I am, and so I can freely say, step into the awe. I did a new vision board, and at the center of my vision board, I have the words "in pursuit of awe."
Oh, I
That's
love
what I want my
that.
life to be about now.
Oh.
If I'm not every day or every 2 days, every 3 days, if I'm not in awe, then I don't think I'm living. If
Mm.
it's the same old story again and again and again and again, and I'm sitting around bored, then I'm not living. But if I can just, even to myself or out loud, just say, ah, yeah, a new discovery, a new awareness. So
Leon,
that's how
is
I
there,
came
is
to that
there,
place.
so you're saying that you like to every 2 or 3 days at least you want to be experiencing
At least,
awe.
if not
Is
every day.
every day is great. I've also got a post-it note on my wall that says awe and wonder. I've got awe and wonder, and every day I look up and I see awe and wonder. I want
Yeah,
to be living in awe and wonder. So
yeah.
for you, how do you know when you're not? What happens to you? Is it something that happens in your body? Is it something that happens? Do you start to feel agitated? Is there something in your behavior? What's your reminder?
My reminder is the moment I go into criticism and judgment about others, about my
Hmm.
other wacky human beings, I know right there, okay, stop, stop. First of all, it's none of your business. And then,
Mm.
second of all, place it on where it needs to be, back on yourself. And one thing that's great about us wacky human beings is that who we are opens doors for others. So if you're in that negative space, then you're just going to create around a lot of negative criticism and judgments. And that's because you feel that many times I feel that I'm probably missing something. So you're not going to be in awe if you're bored.
Mm.
And so I catch myself. I say, okay, you're going too far now. That's enough. Stop it and get back to awe.
What's your immediate circuit breakers for awe? Do you go somewhere? Do you read something? Do you listen to something? How do you break that cycle when you know that you need to shake it up? Come on, Leon. Uh,
Many times it's music because you know I'm a singer. So
mm.
many times it's music, many times it's reading something, many times it's just sitting in quiet meditation. And I get a stern reckoning from the Most High.
Let's step into that because you talked about in your book, Simple Mysticism, which I already mentioned. I absolutely adore this book. There's some beautiful and you talk about this in the introduction to the book where it's supposed to be a companion. It's supposed to be something that you can just pick
Yes,
up and just, get some inspiration from. And I really feel like it
yes.
does that well. I've read it a couple of times and you can see I've got some post-it notes and
Yeah,
things.
I see.
But so in your book you talk about that small voice and you specifically called it out when you were 12 years old. You were standing on the balconies of the Chicago housing projects where you lived as a child, right? And you
Yes,
called out the fact that you looked upon this environment and said, is this going to be my life? And that's when you heard a voice, right? So,
yes,
so this is this the same voice that's been guiding you, and how did you trust that it was because it sounds like your family kind of negated that voice or they didn't
yes, they did.
encourage, yeah. And so, how did you go from hearing that voice and hearing the guidance, and then having to quieten it, and then bringing it back again and trusting it in such deep you have such a deep trust for the connection, for the guidance now. First of all, I've got a couple of questions. One is, how did you recognize it in the beginning? And then when it was quiet, how did you resurrect it?
And so I was this, and I still am, I'm this feeling person. And I just feel for our brothers and sisters. I feel for our plight. I feel for, and people try to say, oh no, this is happening to our Latino, Hispanic brothers and sisters. This is happening here. This is happening here. But I just feel as if it was me. And I said, there's got to be a better way we can take care of one another. And so when things like this happen and people are hurting one another, I stood there and I just cried, and this voice said, "No, no, 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 no. This will not be your lot." I'm putting it in biblical terms, but it didn't say that word. It didn't say lot, but it said, "This will not be your journey. You will live far, far away from here." And I just instinctively knew that this voice knew me. And it made itself very plain and clear. And it was pronounced like, okay, you will not be able to get away and mistaken this voice. And so when it said that, oh my God, I just wept. And that's when my mother called me in the house. But
That's pretty profound for a 12-year-old to
oh
have
my
that
God,
experience.
oh my God. Because I had been taking uh, the time to listen. I
Mm.
wasn't interested in a lot of things that my peers were doing. I wasn't interested in sports and a lot of those things. I was interested in art. I was interested in singing. I was just interested in the inner journey, so to speak. I would sit in my room and my family said, "Well, he's lost it. He's definitely lost it." And so, but they didn't bother me. They said, "Okay, just leave him alone." Except my father, he was very concerned about me. But it was, and then when I heard the voice, it said, "Okay, I knew this voice. I had heard it before.
It was a
I heard
familiar
it before."
voice. You knew.
Yes,
So was
yes,
it was more of a feeling then, was it?
yes, it
Like it was
was.
like a knowing.
Yes, it was a knowing.
Ah, wow. And so how did you feel over the years when it was suppressed or when you weren't listening as much? Did your life feel okay or did it feel like something was missing? How did
Well,
that
I felt
experience?
lost. It
Right.
was those periods when I felt lost
Yeah, okay.
because I wanted at certain points in my life, especially during the teenager, young adult part of my life, I
Mm.
wanted to be like others. I thought they were
Mm.
having more fun. I
Oh.
thought I thought they were living the life and they really weren't. And when I got to know them, we're like, oh my God, no. I was totally depressed for most of my life, Leon. I was just totally depressed.
Because you went into corporate too, didn't you? You got
Yes, I
a
did
you got
for
two
many
degrees,
years.
didn't you?
Say
Business
it again?
and you got 2 degrees, didn't you? And then you went into to
Yes,
business, working for
yes,
Fortune 500 companies.
yes.
Was it
And
sales and marketing you were working in?
yes, I was working for 3M, Minnesota Mining and Manufacturing.
Oh, wow.
And then I started to work for the pharmaceutical industry, and then I was working for General Electric.
Oh,
And you
wow.
talking about the biggies, you talking about the big guys.
Those are big
Oh my
ones.
God. And you know what made it, um, I would say what made it less intimidating was the fact that this voice would show up at times. And because I didn't have the educational experience in a lot of these jobs. I just went by gut instincts and things would happen. I was able to manifest some of the top prizes, some of the top awards. I just manifest more money than I could ever imagine. I remember the first month at GE, and even though I had sales experience, but that's different when, and when you are selling, you got to know the product, you got to know the territory, you got to know. And I just knew that I could do it. In the first month, I received a check, a net paycheck of $7,500. And my bosses,
Wow.
they said, how'd you do this? And I had no clue. I made up some stuff, but I had no clue. And there were several moments like this, Jeanene. I remember working for 3M, and I was in living in Boston at the time. And this was my first, I was out there a year and a half. And I went from in the mid-range of sales um, uh, productivity to number two.
Oh, wow.
I had created the territory. by I had increased the territory to over $3 million. And
So is
now I really didn't know what to say. And the president and everybody, the vice president of the company would call me and they said, "How'd you do this?" And the vice president said, "I'll be out there to work with you." And I said, "Oh my God, what am I gonna make up now?"
and so what do you think it was? Like,
Say it again.
what do you think it was? Like, if you were to pull that apart now and understand the mechanics around it, if it's possible, what did you do to experience that? Were you just a conduit? Were you like you were listening? What were you doing that made that happen?
Well, for one thing, you know, Jeanine, I'm an introvert, and I'm not saying all introverts will be able to do this. And I realize that we serve a God that plays no favorites,
Mm.
and so what I did was I continued to. At the time, I didn't realize I was meditating, but at the time, I would be just listening more than anything. I would listen. And I was attending a New Thought church at the time, and they were telling me things that I had never heard of. And I said, wow. Like, for instance, I'm just going to be, I don't want to make this a purely religious talk, but I remember when the teacher said to me, she says, "Leon Campbell, there is no devil." And I said, "What?" And I, it was like when my brother said there's no Santa Claus. You remember that story?
Yeah, yep. Exactly.
And
And
I
then
was
suddenly
very
everyone
angry.
comes out of the woodwork and says, "Yeah, there isn't." You feel like you're the only one who didn't wasn't in on the secret.
I
Yeah.
was extremely angry. I was extremely angry.
Yeah.
And so why didn't someone tell me this, that there was no, I blamed everything on the devil. And
Wow.
so she says, "No, no, son, there's no devil." And so I started to pick up these books and I took them to heart.
Mm. What were those
I would
books?
read, I would read books from the Unity School of Christianity, from uh, Myrtle and Charles Fillmore. I would read Ernest Holmes. I would read all these books about these people who, the only way I can describe it is that it's like they had seen a ghost and they were talking um, about things that I've never heard people say about God and life and living.
Isn't it interesting how you can have so many pockets of beliefs or ways of thinking or ways of being? And so, where you grew up, there were certain ways of thinking and ways of being and beliefs. And then when you came across this experience, it was very different. And what I always find really fascinating is in each of these worlds, the people in those worlds truly, truly believe that that's the only way.
Yes.
And I find it really interesting for,
Beyond a doubt, they said, no, this is the way.
yeah,
And you know what I said, Jenny? I said, wow. Instead of just like many people, they listen and they move on. It goes out one ear, out the other. But I said, if this is what they believe, I'm going to try it. I'm not going to go another step. I'm going to try what they just said.
yeah,
And what happened was it manifested in my life.
wow,
It became true in my life.
wow.
And they didn't have to say, try this, here are the 5 steps. No, they didn't say that. I just said, I'm just going to try this and see what happens.
don't know why this is beeping when I've got it off.
But you see how amazing we wacky humans are?
So amazing.
Unaware most of us,
Yeah, for
the
sure.
power that's within us.
Yeah. And I think a lot of from what I'm hearing from your story so far is there's a lot of trust.
Yes.
And not only the trust but the immersion. So you hear something or you feel something and then you're following that and you're allowing that to play out. You're allowing yourself to have a full experience of that.
Yes.
It's not like just reading a book and just flipping the pages and then putting it down and then not applying any of the information or not really absorbing any of the information. You're picking up the book, you're post-it noting it, you're scribing in it, you're doing all the
Yes.
things. You're going
Yes.
deeper and deeper and
I mean,
deeper.
for hours I would be doing this.
Mm. And that would definitely have an impact on your experience because you're not just scuffing the surface of things. You're deepening your understanding of things,
And
which,
it was at the sacrifice of my social life. I didn't have a social life. Um, it I wouldn't say it I wouldn't say destroy, but it exposed my marriage because the Most High God became my lover.
mm, yeah.
And there were times when I totally regret that because it's like I don't have any children and you know what I mean? But I was given 5,000 children
Yeah, I was
as
going
a
to say you have many
spirit.
children, don't you?
Because, I had to go to court with many of them. I had to go to jailhouse with them. I had to prepare them for camps and for graduations and all that because there was no father in most of these houses,
Wow. What
or
an
there was
amazing
no.
honor, though, Leon. Like to think, and if which clearly you do, you believe in that you have a path and you have, a service to God or to people. Clearly, the road was cleared for you to be able to do that. And,
My God.
if you had your own children, then it
I,
might be a different
yes,
story, right? You wouldn't have
yes,
had that capacity to give in
yes.
the way that you do. And you just give so much to all of these children who, like you said, they've grown up without dads. And then for you to step in and to hold that space for them is such an honor and such a gift for you and them.
Yes. So you took me there. That's where I am. Yes. And so I believe that's how it happened. Because
Mm,
there's no God playing personal favorites. He doesn't say, hey, you're going to do this, I chose you to do this, I chose you to do that. And what happens is you find yourself in these situations and you can't let it go.
mm.
You
So,
can't let it go.
so was it clear to you, Leon, with your marriage breakdown, if it's okay for us to talk about this, and if it's not, that's okay too, was it clear for you what that path was? Or was there a lot of confusion around that?
Not at the time, not in the midst of it,
Mm,
because I wanted to be like everybody else. I wanted to be validated, especially by these corporate companies, because I was on the fast track. But when I looked around, I said, do I want to be like these guys that are excessively drinking and uh, doing the same thing every day and every night, working 12 to 14 hours a day? I said, do I want to do that? And I said, no, I don't. And I just walked away.
mm,
I walked away.
yeah.
And but I wanted to be validated. And then when you look at the spiritual world, it came to a point where I wanted to be validated in that. And God was like, no, you don't. I, y- you're validated by me. I have validated you already. You're perfect just the way you are. And so I began to learn, and one of the things I teach the children, because we overuse this word perfect, because many times perfect insinuates that we need to be like another person.
Mm,
It simulates imitation, where God made you and I and the world perfect just the way we are.
mm. So you're saying, so you're working with children now. Have you, and you have been for many years, have you noticed the difference in the way that they see the world at the
Oh
moment?
yeah.
The youth, okay. What's
Oh
been
yeah.
the
And it's based on my growth and evolution too.
true,
Because
true.
now when I step in there, they're speaking and they are arriving at such a level that blows my mind.
Wow. In what way?
And what way is that when I speak to them, even the small 4-year-old, 3-year-old, they would sit and be so intrigued. I remember during the Easter celebration, I said to them, there's such a misconception about our brother Jesus. And I said, he came not to show us who he was. And they looked and they go, and I said, when I say show us who he was, because you can look into his teaching and he would say things like, the things that I do, you shall do also, and greater things than these shall you do. And when you see me, you see the one that has sent me. And so I would say he came to show us who we are.
And do they get that?
Oh my God, this one little kid, he spoke up and he said, okay, well, what did Jesus came come to show us? And I said, that's because we've forgotten. Yeah, I said, that's because we've forgotten who we are. And he says, what have we forgotten, Reverend Leon? He was trying to be a smarty. And I say, that you're amazing, that you are wonderful, that you are perfect, that you're beautiful. And he just looked at me, he says, we've forgotten that? Yes, we have. As we matriculate through life, we've forgotten. You hear us say things like, oh my God, I can't do this, I can't do this, I can't do that. There's lack, there's talk of lack and war all around. We've forgotten that we're amazing. We've forgotten that we're beautiful. We've forgotten that. That's why I love when you say we're wacky. And I get it. I get it. We've forgotten all this.
Why do you think we've forgotten?
Well, when we arrive here, it becomes almost we an hypnosis. And so when you really look at it, the word Maya has become very key for me, which means illusion.
Ooh.
And a friend of mine said to me, he says, Reverend Leon, do you know? Because when you look at maps, it's clear that they've misrepresented the continent of Africa. And I said, why do you say that? He says, because it's twice as big as you can see on he said, the entire United States can fit in the Sahara Desert. The entire United States.
Wow.
Oh. And he said, when you think about it, let's just use the desert as our analogy. Because right now, all of this stuff that you see is not real, and it's gonna disappear. It's not gonna be here. I don't know how long. Some will stay quite a while, but most of it's gonna disappear. And I thought about it. I said, "Wow." He said, "It's illusionary, but we think it's real." And so I I sat there and I said, interesting, because he says when you go into the desert, there's no road maps, there's no signs, there's no nothing. He says even when you look over and you see a sand dune, that sand dune's gonna dissipate and disappear. And so the only way you have to get through the desert is the North Star. And even to this day, people navigate by watching the North Star to get through the Sahara Desert. And he says that's really an analogy for this world. You have got to begin to know that it's all an inside job.
Mm,
And so you just cannot trust in everything you see.
yeah. I've got a couple of
You
questions
got to
here.
know that there's a power and a presence behind all of it.
Mm,
You've got to know that.
mm,
And you're gonna have some problems. I wouldn't say suffer, but you're gonna have some problems if you trust solely in what you see.
mm. So, how do we then? Two things. One is, how do we identify if something is an illusion or real? And then the second one is, how do we know or find out or discover what our North Star is so that we can constantly recalibrate back to the North Star?
And so one of the ways that you can tell is you have to recognize your consciousness. You have to recognize your belief. You have to recognize your walk, so to speak. And so uh, things that are not real has no foundation, has no principle, has no law. That and this I mean, this bothers many people, but to be honest with you, Jeanene, if that headache was real and you took a Tylenol wouldn't be able to do anything, wouldn't be able to get rid of it. And I'm not saying people are not experiencing sickness, but what I'm saying to you, it has no law, has no principle, has no lasting value. It was not created by God.
So, can you explain that a little bit deeper for people who don't understand what you're saying about? So, if you've got a headache, you take the Tylenol. The Tylenol supposedly gets rid of the headache, but was the headache ever really there? Is that what you're saying?
And so, in other words, I really do believe in my Tylenol.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna lie to you. I do not like pain.
Yeah.
And so I jump up. I don't do it as much now. I jump up and say, let me get out of this pain.
Mm.
And when I take that Tylenol, it gets rid of it. So now I'm believing in the Tylenol and not necessarily in my belief, not necessarily in my belief of my body is whole and perfect.
So we're
And
substituting
it's
the.
not that elementary simple. So people say, is that simple? Yes, it is, but we've complicated our lives and we've compiled such uh lies and doubts and fears. It's compiled with uh so much misinformation.
Mm.
I remember a teacher of mine said many years ago, she says, Reverend Leon, we're really living our lives like an onion. We're supposed to be peeling. Life is unlearning. And one of the things that I love about working with children, they come in that totally pure state. They don't know how to give it back to me. And when I say give it back to me, they don't know how to process many times the things that I'm saying. But I can look in their eyes. I can look in their eyes and know that they understand.
Mm,
Most of my class, especially with the young ones, is taught through the eyes.
that's beautiful.
And I have to remind myself, if you're talking too much, Reverend Leon, you're saying too much.
Mm. Do you think that the devices have been a problem with the eye contact? I know I was just speaking to someone recently about I'm in Melbourne and I remember vividly this little kid in a pushchair, probably less than maybe 1 year old, and we're in the tram and it's looking up at its mum and its dad and they're both on a phone, and then it's looking around the entire tram and it's seeking for eye contact and it can't find eye contact anywhere. And that vision has stayed with me because I think
Mm,
children need eye contact. Children need confirmation that they're
yes, yes,
seen.
yes.
And so I feel like the teaching
Yes,
that you're
yes,
doing is
yes.
incredible. If you're saying that it's all, you know, you've got it's all in the eyes,
Yes,
it's so
yes,
good that kids are
yes.
getting that because far too often now we are looking down, we are on devices, and
And we're shy. We uh it's intimidating to look in a person's eyes for many of us.
yeah,
You know, one year, my last year at Big Bear Camp, we did what I call e-camp, but it had nothing to do with electronics. E-camp was about exercise, it was about entertainment, it was about the environment, it was all the ease.
that's cool. I
But
love
not,
that.
we collected their phones, we collected their tablets, and we spent the time learning how to speak heart to heart, eye to eye.
How long was the
And
is the camp for?
it was a week. And
Wow,
I'm gonna tell you, at the end of that week, there was not a dry eye. You're gonna make me cry. It was not a dry eye in the place. The
wow.
one of the kids, two of the kids said, Reverend Leon, can we stay another week?
Oh,
Because they
bless.
had not been used to communicating this way. One kid came up to me, he says, I was so angry at my sister because she couldn't pick up the phone and say happy birthday, or she couldn't come and see me. And she sent this message from Facebook and he says, I didn't want that. I want I wanted to I wanted to hold my sister's hand. I wanted to look her in the eyes
Wow.
and hear her say happy birthday to me.
So what can we do? Because this is a problem.
Yes, it is, Jeanene. Yes, it is.
What can we do as a society? As because I know for us personally, we can do what we can do, right? So every one of the listeners who are listening to this right now, what can you do today to bring a sense of humanity to another human being? Whether it's one person, two people, a group of people, what can you do? Perhaps you can say hello to the barista when you order your coffee.
Yes.
Perhaps you can, if you are going into a shop and purchasing something, maybe you can have a conversation with that person. Maybe if somebody's waiting
Well,
for a bus, you can say hello. What can we do?
and we can also develop no phone zones. I would like us as a family to get back to just having dinner. No phones are allowed at the table.
Mm,
If it's urgent, get back with them after dinner or after lunch or breakfast. But there's a no phone zone. We spend that time just communicating heart to heart. That's what we do.
that's
And you
beautiful.
can develop no phone zones around your house.
Nice.
And because I'm not the person who wants to get rid of technology. No, let's fly with it.
Yep.
But it shouldn't overtake our lives.
No. What else can we do? What else do you think we could do to make a difference in creating not a movement, but the start of a movement. You know, how can we start to, and I think the desire's there, or you're already seeing that with children who are turning up in your presence. The desire is there for the connection. They already have that. How can we bring that to them? How can we change things in our communities, not just in our
Well,
homes, but
we can have these zones. We can also demand as parents and show them the value. But most parents don't know the value.
that's
They're
the
just as
problem,
glued
right?
to their phone. They're just as
Exactly.
glued to the phone
That's
as
the
the kids.
problem. Yeah.
Yeah, it
And
is.
it's almost like it's I'm busy, I haven't got time for this. Just go and play on your device.
Yes.
It's a child caring device, isn't it? Or
Yes, it is. It's the babysitter.
it's a babysitter, yeah. And so then I guess a parent seeing the impact of this, and you'd be seeing this. These kids that come to a camp, they're possibly living in homes like that. They come to this
Yes.
camp for a week. What then happens? Because we all know, as therapists and counselors and people who are working with human behavior, you can change a behavior in a person, but if you put them back into the same environment, how
It
does
revert. It
exactly, how
revert.
does that, yeah. How
And that's
can,
what I'm going through right now. Even when I teach classes now, I'm going back to creating a newsletter. It's basically for the parents.
oh,
It's a
nice.
teaching tool for the parents. Because many times they assume they know the principles we teach, but they're not. They don't know them.
Yeah,
They assume they
yeah,
fall back to the orthodox and the traditional teachings of, Jesus died for our sins, blah, blah, all that type of stuff.
yeah, yeah.
So we have to educate them just as much as we're educating, or I won't say educating the children, because to be honest with you, the children, based on their age, they're fully aware of spiritual principles, fully aware.
It's incredible. I love that. Because then they're going out into the world and they're creating
And then people
relationships.
start to tell you, yeah, people start to tell you, oh my God, look at you, you're a mess.
Yeah,
And you didn't know that until they said it, till this adult said it.
yeah.
I'm a mess. What do you mean? And then they start to list all those things you don't have, list all those things you've messed up, and it's like, oh my God, how will I be able to get over this? And so you start to tune out, like most adults, you tune out. And the phone gives you the perfect opportunity to tune out.
That's an escape, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
Yes, it is.
And I guess, there's a lot to be overwhelmed about at the moment. So I can understand that people do that. I feel like there's a real concern. For me, I feel like there's an effort pandemic at the moment. People are just not wanting to make much effort because it's too hard, because there's too many unknowns. There's too many pressures on people. There's so much information coming from so many different angles. It's really difficult to understand who to trust and what to trust, especially as we become more digital. That it's seeing videos on YouTube. Is it true or is it not? I watched something recently where it was for about a minute and a half. I was watching this woman talking, and then she says, "I'm an avatar." And then you go, "Oh my gosh, I've just been watching for a minute and a half. I thought it was a human, and it's not." And it's so easy to be deceived. And so I feel like there's this I guess trust concern happening at the moment as well. Who do we trust? What do we trust? What information do we trust? What people do we trust? And I feel like we've got all of that hanging over us, and then we're parenting. And so for these people who are escaping to their phones or using other devices, whether it's alcohol, food, there's lots of ways that people can escape. It's understandable, but it's not acceptable, because what is that doing to our future generations? How can we
Yes.
break that? How can we not be that? And I think what you're talking about with connecting to people, having conversation at dinner time, having phone free zones, looking each other in the eye, this is a great start. But we need to do more.
And one thing I'm excited about, because I love looking at children's eyes,
Same.
because they're so clear and they can see forever.
Yep.
They can see, they look right through me. And
Yeah.
people say, well, Reverend Leon, how do you connect with them and how do you get along with them? It's because I just look into their eyes.
And you listen.
And sometimes I just cry and they're like,
Yeah.
Leon, what's the matter? It's like I just saw I just saw the most beautiful thing ever, and all I was doing was looking at their eyes.
Oh, that's beautiful.
All I was doing.
Yeah. Yeah. Because, they like you say, they see forever. They're open. They're not as judgmental as what we have
Yes.
become, right?
And they're like fresh dew from the universe. They're fresh dew from the Most High.
How did you end up working with kids? Like, how did
Oh
it
my
end?
God. All I know is I was around 16. And one of the things that inspired me as a kid, my older brother, his friends were my big brothers too. And I had the fortune to have teachers. These were teachers in my public elementary school who many of these were white males, and they would take me over their house. They would teach me how to play chess. They
Wow,
would teach me how to ride horses.
that's
And I
beautiful.
just felt, wow, what type of men are you?
Mm,
That would take this little poor kid and I said, what am I doing now?
mm,
I should be doing like these people did to me. They embraced me in such a beautiful way.
that's beautiful.
And so that's one of the reasons why I, just can't break away from the kids. People say, well, Reverend Leon, you've been doing that too long. You need to move on to something else. I said, I just can't because here's the other thing I told Reverend Michael recently. I said, because, many times we look to reinvent ourselves and we look to reinvent our church, blah, 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 blah. But I said, with children, I get the opportunity to start all over again every Sunday
Yeah,
because they don't
yeah.
care about our history. They don't care about your degrees. They don't care about none of that.
No.
They don't care how long you've been teaching,
Yep.
blah, 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 blah.
Yeah, I agree.
What they want to know is, can I trust you? Do
Yes.
you love me?
Mm. Am
Will
I
you be here?
seen? Am I
Will
heard?
you?
Mm. Yeah.
And that's what I love about it. I get to start all over again.
That's cool, isn't
Because they're
it?
not going to say, well, what about last year when? No, they don't
No,
care about any of that.
no. Isn't it interesting? You talked about the men
Their
that
present moment, Jeanene, I'm sorry. And that's what I
present,
love about it. Their
the
present moment.
the present moment. Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, and with your presence, that allows them to be in the present moment, right?
Beautiful. Yes.
Mm.
Yes.
I think it's incredible. Like you mentioned those men and your brother's friends, the teachers that are not necessarily known as teachers, but more mentors because they do
Yes.
things for people who,
Yes.
it's not in their teaching scope or it's not in their day job. And I think, what can we do? Like, listeners listening now, what can you do today? What can you do this week? What can you do this month, this year to see someone who just needs a hand held, who just needs, to go for a walk, whether it's a child or an adult, somebody who needs to feel exactly what you just said, that they trust you and they love you. It can be quite difficult in this day and age because of the trust issue. If somebody started to just walk up beside you and hold your hand, you'd be a little bit suspicious of the person. But if there's somebody that you know that needs a little bit of attention, a little bit of care, then do that, because it's those times when it's not something that we've seeked out ourselves. We're paying for a mentor or we're paying for a coach, but it's the times when people actually stop and listen to us and hold space for us. Those are the times that feel precious. Those are the times when we feel loved, when we feel seen and heard.
So give me your question on that. I blanked out because of the last question, and I was just thinking about Mr. Katz, who would take me to his house and he would just teach me how to play chess.
That's
Just that
incredible.
simple.
That's incredible. And so that's my invitation to the listeners, is if there is something that maybe there's a child who is struggling at home. I'm doing this with one of my friends at the moment, actually. Every Tuesday I'm going and picking him up from school, and we're just hanging out, just to hang out, because it's just something that hopefully will help in some way. So if there's somebody that you know who needs that, just do it. It's a moment in
Yes.
time. Take the time, take the
Yes.
effort. It might be inconvenience. It might be, maybe it doesn't fit into your schedule at the moment, but really, does that person need you more than you need to have a pretty schedule right now?
Yes.
Yeah.
And if you can begin to, I don't know if this shifts our conversation, but if you can keep it simple,
Mm.
and one of the reasons why my book is strategically entitled that is, it's the simple things that really make a difference in life. And the simpler you are, the deeper you are. And when I say that, I mean I was thinking of the story of this teacher named Jesus who was walking down the road, and here were the religious people, and they were observing him, and they shouted to him. They said, "Hey, you, Mr. Know-it-all." I'm paraphrasing, okay? Mr. Know-it-all, okay, since you know everything, what is the greatest commandment? What are the two greatest commandments? And Jesus thought about it and he said, the first one is to love God. And he said some other things, but he said, but to love God. And he said, the second is to love your neighbor as yourself. That's it. That's it. That's it.
Simple.
And the people were like astounded. Well, there's got to be more. It's just got to be more. And that's part of our problem too, Jeanine. And I sit there and I listen to these people, beg Reverend Michael and all the top leaders in our world. When are we going to go and start learning the deeper stuff? When are you going to give us the deeper classes? And I said, wow, Jeanine, one of the deepest things that you can ever learn is our basic oneness. I mean, if you can just learn that, you have accomplished, attained some of the most deepest principles ever. Just our basic, that we're one. The reasons why we're so in trouble, the reasons why we're having so many problems is because we've separated ourselves.
So how can we easily
I, I
get to
want, I,
that?
want- I want to be called the simple preacher, the simple man.
Mm.
I shy away from people who try to box me in with these deep 5-page questions. No, 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 no. It's like the Dalai Lama when he was doing a press conference, and and the reporters were there and they had all these questions. Oh my God. And one guy had this 15-page question, right? And the Dalai Lama listened, and then the Dalai Lama took a breath and he says, I think we should be a little kinder to one another. And that was it.
Love it.
And,
That's
and all the reporters
perfect.
were like, oh my God, that was so deep. Oh, they're writing it down. Oh my God. We need to be kind.
Oh, that's great.
But just as
So
simple,
true,
Jeanine.
though. Yeah.
So just that
Imagine how
simple.
different the world would be if we were kinder. So, how do you think, Leon, for our listeners, those who do feel that separation, they feel separated, what is the best thing for them to do today, tomorrow, this week, next week, this year, to understand that we are one, but not just to understand it, but to embody that? Because if they're feeling separated, because there's a lot of separation right now, so for those who are feeling separated, what are just a couple of things that they can start to implement into their day or their week?
And what I'm thinking about is how we can make that very simple.
Mm.
And I think we could start by appreciating ourselves, spending more time appreciating ourselves, and know that which you appreciate about you, that which is magical, that which is awesome about you, is the same for everybody else.
How can we do that? Is this
And the reasons
journaling?
why we
Is it
don't, and the
prayer?
reason, I'm sorry,
No,
and
no,
the
you go.
reason why we don't uh, believe any of that or separate ourselves is because it's hard for us to believe in ourselves
Mm.
and to know that life is an inside job.
So, how do we believe in ourselves?
Because I don't want this to sound like, oh, just go about believing in yourself. No, we're not. This is not a fairy tale. It's
Nope,
not a.
it's not.
So we began to take a breath, and I say, get serious about our lives. In other words, even if you have to clean house of friends and things that no longer serve you, in other words, that you are not liking, I want you to get back to just writing an appreciation list. You know what I mean? It could be just as simple as, oh man, I love the way I take care of my clothes. I don't throw them around the house like I do.
Yeah,
But to
yeah, we
get
see.
back to just a deep appreciation for oneself and take it day, take it a day at a time.
Mm.
Quit beating yourself up.
That's a key, isn't it? Because unfortunately, a
Yes.
lot of us do
And
that.
know that you are okay right where you are.
So, bringing in some appreciation, confirming and knowing that you're okay where you are now, and then
Yes, you
and
are.
extending that the appreciation about yourself and knowing where you are, that's where others are as well, which is what you alluded to before when you were
And
saying,
also know that you are not alone. See, some people, oh my God, my life is, I'm not getting, my life's not like yours. You got all these things, and I got so many problems. Reverend Leon, you just don't know. I cry every night. You are not alone, which will help alleviate some of your tears.
mm,
And you take it one day at a time. You take it
that's,
one day at a time.
yeah,
And you
that's,
review your list. on a constant basis. And
Mm.
people say, because we're in a battle with simple. Because
I love that.
people say to me, Reverend Leon, it couldn't be that simple. Well, what if it was? What if it was just that simple?
Hallelujah.
I want to be known as a simple preacher. I really do. I want
Mm.
to be known as a simple preacher.
Mm. Well, the thing is, if we overcomplicate it,
Love. If we can if we can get our arms around love, that would help us a lot. That would, and if we could just get our arms around this thing called love.
and you
And
emanate that.
it's not this kumbaya, my Lord. It's not this fake, phony outer embrace. No, it's deeper than that.
And it's seeing the love in everything, isn't it? And in your book, you talk about seeing the divine in everything and everywhere. Seeing the love in everything and everywhere. It is in everything and everywhere.
And
If you
if
look
you look
closely enough.
hard enough, it will appear.
Yeah.
If you look long enough, it shall appear.
And
If
sometimes,
you begin to trust and believe, it shall appear. And you hear people say, well, how did this get here? Well, it was here all the time, waiting for you to recognize it, waiting for you to open up thine eyes, waiting for you to begin to, oh my God, you were here all the time? Yes, I was.
do you think
Ah.
do you think there's
I
also
thought I wouldn't have nothing to say to you, Jeanene. I thought I was like, oh my
we,
God, why
we
is
don't.
she asking me? I have nothing to say.
Oh my goodness, you have so much wisdom to share. It's incredible. And we're so blessed. We're so blessed. I think, one of the questions I had for you was around, um, contemplation and spiritual practice. For, for our listeners, what is something simple that they can implement every day as a spiritual practice?
Okay.
What do you think would
So
be
again,
nice and simple, easy, bringing them back to
so
love?
again, we always got to remember it's an inside job.
Yep.
Even if you have to make an inward U-turn, it's an inside job. And so one of the things we stop and we begin to know that even now, our good is making its way to us. We got to know that. We got to know that you are not a helpless cause or a case. You you just begin to flip it, and what some people say, start again. But what I want to say is a practice is not necessarily an outer manipulation. So when we think about a practice, we begin to change our thoughts around it. So let's start with what's giving you uh, heartache and pain. How can we flip that in our own mind and soul? How do we turn that around, starting with our thoughts around it? How do we get out of this microwave consciousness, wanting it to happen overnight? What if we know that, okay, I'm okay. And if you keep saying that and believing that and working with that and looking at your list, looking at your gratitude list, changing your furniture if you're going to do an outer thing, changing your dress, changing. In other words, you begin to change your thoughts around things. I'm not tied, I'm not locked into what I used to be. I'm not that person anymore. Where people say to me, well, how can you still get along with your ex-wife? Well, I've let it go. I've let all that go, Jeanine. And and the things that I'm holding on to, I said, wait, hold up, wait a minute. Is that really important? No. And then you begin to say, no, it's not. But can you let it go? Can you let it go? And I'm not going to say we let people walk over us or, yeah, or you condone behavior. I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is there's more life for you, Jeanine. There's more life for us. And why are you not living it? I was telling the staff the other day, I said, I've gotten off this linear roller coaster for my life. I said, my birthday was 3 weeks ago, and I said,
Happy birthday.
um, what if you can live circularly
Mm.
with no birthday?
Ooh.
Because see, linear implies an ending. And Janine, what if there was no ending? What if none of this had, what if this all of this stuff, this illusion, what if it had no ending?
Mm.
And we're tied into, oh my God, I'm now whatever your age is, I'm this, I'm that. But are you?
Mm.
We made it all up. Uh, we made it all up, Janine. We made it up. And you're supposed to get all these things during this period of aging. What if that's not true? Because when you live circularly, you eventually are going to run into a new experience.
Mm.
Because linear, when you live linear, there's a tendency to say, well, my aunt, my uncle had this with, and they had that, and
Yeah.
I'm getting that age now.
Mm-hmm.
And then you start to compete with yourself. And it's horrible. I mean, it's ludicrous to start, you get to start saying stuff like, boy, when I did that e-camp, oh my God. Well, that's over.
Mm.
Are you willing to create something new? Or are you still like our society, still trying to teach the merits of having a typewriter? Are
Yeah.
you still trying to teach the merits of being in the industrial age?
Mm.
And see, when you're living circularly, you begin to evolve. You begin to live in the unprecedented, something that's never happened before. Are you open to that? That's what I ask people now. Are you open to being in the unprecedented? Are you open to starting all over again? Are you open to, let me begin again? Let me begin again.
Life is an adventure. I love it.
And when you live circularly, it takes on a whole new adventure.
Mm.
Because you're not going trying to meet yourself and say, oh my God, I'm getting up there.
Yeah. You're just open to what happens,
Grandmother
right?
had this and my father had that. No, I don't know my age anymore, Jeanine, and don't ask me and don't remind me. Okay, thank you.
Yeah. It's forgotten because you're in the circular experience
Yes, you
of
are.
life. Yeah.
Yes, you are.
Yeah, that's
And
cool.
you don't know what's around the corner, and good for you.
Yeah. That's the fun part.
Yes.
Is just being open to
You
adventure,
don't
being
know
open
who's
to what's
around the
unfold.
corner.
That's right.
And we get out of this fear. See, it's important to know that there's only the presence of God, Jeanine. There's only God. I had to say it. There's only God. There's only one of us. One activity, one life, one love.
Nice.
And even when you mess up, when you live circularly, okay, here's that next go around, that next turn.
Yep. Nice. Like Monopoly. You go round
Yes,
and
it
round and
is.
yeah.
And even when you
$200
make
for
a
pass and
mistake,
go.
and even when you make a mistake,
You get to go again.
it's to do it all over again.
Yeah, it's beautiful. It's a good way to see it.
But this time you get a chance to do it differently.
Yeah, if you learn, if you're listening,
Yes,
if you're aware.
yes, yes.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, that's awesome. I've got three more questions for you, Leon, that I ask each of my guests. And it is to do with the title of the podcast, Wild, Wacky, and Wonderful. What's one of the wildest things you've ever done?
Well, I want to say because I like to live in the unprecedented, um, I anticipate the wild and the wacky.
Mm.
I don't lament, I don't harp on it. Um, and many times the wild and the wacky happens because my willingness to live on a dare. I don't have to have all my ducks in place. I don't have to have, when I travel now, I don't have to have my parachute, my water bottle. I don't have to have all that. And so I'm not as afraid as I used to be. And so I was telling in my book about the near fatal car accident I was in.
Mm.
And when the hood flew up, people will have to read the book to find the whole story. But when my hood flew up and latched onto my windshield, yeah. And I was going about 75, 80 miles an hour at the time. And I just knew that I would not make it that night. I knew that this was my last night on earth. And all of a sudden, things started to freeze, like you see some of these television shows. And I looked behind me because that's the only way I could look. I couldn't look in front of me. My hood was up, blocking it. And I looked back and there were no cars, Jeanine. I saw light, I saw smoke, but I didn't see any cars. Now, this was rush hour LA. If you've ever been to Los Angeles,
Yep.
you know,
Yeah.
rush hour is no
That's
joke.
insane. Yeah. Yeah.
Cars everywhere.
Yep.
And I looked back and there were no cars. And so I started to see myself driving from the back seat. And I maneuvered my way over to the exit. And I safely did that. And then I immediately came back into my body. And when I got out of the car, there were hundreds of cars just whooshing by, zooming by. And I fell to my knees And I heard that voice again, Jeanene, that says, I'm with you. And so I just wanted to say that it's all wacky. It really is. And so I began to look at how infinite we are, how kooky, how crazy, how funny. And it doesn't have to look normal, quote unquote.
But that's what makes
But
us interesting, though, right?
yes, yes,
That's what
yes.
makes interactions
And
interesting.
that's who I want
Yeah,
to be. I
yeah,
want to be an interesting human.
yeah, yeah. And if we get caught up in things that, you know, if we get caught up in anything, it can, and we attach on to something, we hold on to something, and we identify ourselves by that one thing, then that starts to become boring too. You
Yes,
know,
yes.
so it's allowing all of these things to pass through, and all of these things to of course be stories that we tell, but not things that we cling on to and identify with, and then that's what keeps us interesting. I have one last question for you. What makes humans wonderful?
Our ability to change, our ability to laugh at ourselves. And it's so interesting because laughing helps you to release endorphins. Our ability to not stay the same, that's what makes us different. Our ability to say, that's over now. Let's start.
Mm, going back to that circular, I love that. Yeah. It's
And
so
that's the way I
true.
want to live. I want to live circularly now, not linear. Because, like I said, linear implies that there's an ending.
Mm,
And what if, Jeanene, what if there was never an end? What if
mm,
there's never an ending?
yeah,
That even when you die, you begin to see a dawn and not a death.
that's beautiful. That's really beautiful.
Even when you look at the sunset and you see it get darker and darker and darker and darker. And there's a part of you that says, where did the sun go? It's now over in the east. It's now in the east. Just as we said good night, people in Thailand have said good morning.
That's right.
And guess what, Jeanene? That sun never moved.
No. Yeah,
Never moved.
yeah. We
It was
did.
our positioning.
Mm, yeah, exactly.
And so our ability to change, our ability to evolve, our ability to see it differently is what makes us human, makes us
Wonderful.
wonderful.
Mm, beautiful. And you're embodying all of that, and I love that. You know,
Oh
because
my God.
you're an
That's
incredible
my goal.
inspiration for that. You know, people
That's my
come into your presence, and it's like, oh, this is so you're not just saying it, you're doing it. You know, it's very interesting when you go to teachers who they're telling you the work, but they're not doing the work. You know, so it's really incredible to see to be sitting with someone today who's you're embodied. You know, you are the work. So that's really incredible to see, and thank you for sharing your soul with us. Thank you for sharing your stories with us, and your music and your voice and your inspired life, your inspired way of living, so that it gives us permission. Not that we need permission, but as humans, sometimes people do feel like they need it, you give us permission to shine and to be the light and to be the love.
Um,
So I do really appreciate you for being here with us.
Thank you.
Do
Thank you.
you
Thank you.
do you have a poem you would like to close out with that you know?
Of course, I have this little book that's right next to me.
Yeah, yeah, same.
And let's see.
I had noted one, the um, Granny's response to "Where am I?" The "Where you stand is divine." I really loved that Theos and Granny, the poem that you had on page 34 in your book. "Where am I?" is what I really want to know. And then Granny replies with, "I believe we are spirit." Do you know this one I'm referring to? "Where you stand is divine."
Yes.
That really resonated with me. I don't know if that's something that you would like to read or you have your own.
I want you to read one of yours and then I'll read my favorite.
Well, this is your one.
No, I know. I
Oh
want you to
yeah,
read.
okay, yeah. I'll read this one. So "Where you stand is divine." So Theos, where am I is what I really want to know. Am I a floating being with no place to go? Am I a star floating amongst the stars? Am I a soul in a blue ball floating in space? Am I the breath of God with no time or place? Am I a spiritual being living in eternity? Are we boundless beings with everything? Are we everywhere but nowhere? Are we holographic structures? Where do I end and where do I begin? Granny, I believe we are spirit, with endless possibilities untapped. We are the breath of the Most High on an ever present energy field. I can sense that we are filled with unlimited opportunities. We are one with all life, and this oneness gives us access to all. Where we are, well, we are home, right within ourselves.
Beautiful. You read that very well. I just wanted to read this one. Many times when I speak, I don't get a chance to really speak about the love stories that are in here.
Mm.
And
I would love to hear those.
it's on page 93. And many people think this is a story about a couple, but it's a story of, because see, God's my lover. I just want to let that be known. God's my lover. And we have been walking together for years and years and years and years and years and years and years. But I didn't know God. I don't know God. And I hear people, especially in the traditional religion, say, "Why do you love me so? Why do you love me so?" And this was my answer to that. I want to know you. As we walk hand in hand, it felt like I had known you forever, but I didn't know you at all. Your smile, your touch was reminiscent of the way we used to kiss, the way your hair would shine in the rain, the way we would dance like no one was watching but me. Oh, how I loved all this, but I didn't know you. Remember when we talk and laugh until 3, sipping tea into the morning light? Oh, how we ride our bikes through Grant Park and stop to rest on the Art Institute steps. The sound of many Rippertons loving you will be a cool, refreshing drink to our ears. Eating ice cream from the same bowl became a sacred adventure. And we'll tape love notes to each other on the bathroom mirror. Oh, how I loved all this. But I didn't know you at all. I can't wait. And so that was my love story
Thank you. That's
for God,
beautiful.
because God has been my lover all this time. And I
Mm,
didn't know God, but now I'm getting to know God.
mm. That's a dedication and a commitment, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
Mm.
Yes, it is.
Yeah,
Thank you.
beautiful. Thank you. Thank you for sharing that. Now,
Yeah.
listeners, you can find Leon on Leon Campbell Jr. for Junior.com. I'll put that in the show notes as well.
Hmm.
Are you on Instagram and Facebook as well, Leon?
Yes, I
Okay.
am.
Okay, so Leon Campbell Jr. or just Leon
Yes.
Campbell? Yep. Okay.
Leon Campbell.
Okay, beautiful. So, yeah, if you want to seek out Reverend Leon's work, he also is at Agape Centre, obviously, every Sunday with the children's program. And you also sometimes do the adults sessions too, don't you? You sing or sometimes read
Yes.
at those
Yes.
occasionally.
Yes.
And do you put that up on your Facebook or Instagram?
Yes, I will.
Yeah, so people can keep an eye out for that too, because that's nice to because you can dial in from around the world. So it's really nice to dial into an agape session, and to see your beautiful face there as well
And
and
one
see
day
you
I
sing.
really would love to come to Australia. Oh my,
Absolutely, let's get you here.
yes.
That would be incredible. Yeah, we need to make that happen. Yeah.
Well, I'm here. I'm open.
Yep, exactly. You're living in the
Yes.
circulatory
Yeah, there
opportunity.
you go. There you go.
Thank you so much. Thank you for being here
Thank
today.
you.
Thank you for blessing our listeners
Oh
and
my God.
sharing your
Thank you for
wisdom.
asking this kid from the Chicago projects to join you.
So blessed. If you're anything like me, you're probably sitting in quiet reflection after that one. Wow. Reverend Leon Campbell, he's one of those humans that remind you that life doesn't have to be complicated to be profound. From teaching children at Agape through technology-free connection, to writing daily appreciation lists, living a circular life instead of chasing straight lines. Oh, we covered so much today. Here's what I'd love you to take with you. You are magnificent, even when you forget. You don't have to have it all figured out. Just be open. And most importantly, simplicity is powerful. If you'd like to learn more about Leon's work, you can find him on social media, or you can visit Agape Center in Los Angeles. You can also check out his book, Simple Mysticism, and his spoken word and music project called Dearly Beloved. And hey, if this episode moved you, share it with someone who might need a gentle nudge back to their own divinity. Until next time, keep being wild, keep being wacky, and keep being your wonderful self. Thanks for tuning in to Wild, Wacky, Wonderful Humans. If you had fun, share it with someone just as wild and wonderful as you. Stay wild, stay wonderful, stay wacky, and I'll catch you next time.